All right, guys, welcome into Fox 5 Live here on this. My volume's all good on this first day. Well, first time I've been back on anyway of 2018. Second day, 2018. I know a lot of people back to work, back to school. Good to see everybody. Hopefully, everybody had a lovely holiday. Happy New Year and all that jazz. And Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays. Countdown to next holiday season begins. Always my favorite time of year. Shame to see it go by so fast. But we are tracking things here in the Weather Center. I'm going to try and keep this video as short and sweet as I can, but it's a complicated situation coming our way on Thursday. So let's kind of get right to it. Let me send you back to that graphic because this is kind of the general idea that we have as things stand at this time. It's a delicate situation in a way because of how many little pieces are going into this particular storm system here that's going to be approaching our region during the day on Thursday. As things stand at this moment, it's pretty far off the coastline to affect us in a major way. I will tell you this, though. I will say that from a weather forecasting standpoint, if all the things had come together just right, this would have been a big one here. This would have been a very big storm here if things had all come together. And I'll explain why. In fact, let me go back to this, this graphic. I'll show you exactly what I'm talking about. So this is the European model. This is upper level energy. Won't get too complicated, but as I scoot through your day, this is coming your way on Wednesday, you can distinctively see 3 coatings of orange. Again, this is upper atmospheric energy. You got a piece up here, you got a piece down here, and you got a piece right there. These are what we call triple phase events, or events that are trying to, what we call triple phase, where you get all 3 pieces of energy, this one here, this one here, this one here, linking up and coming across together. Those make monster blizzards. They really do. They make huge storms. I was going through data to see when the last one was. I think it was this, if you were here in 1993, and you saw, or you were here for the big blizzard in March of '93. That was a triple phase storm. They got over, I think, 10 or 11 inches here in DC, but they got like 3-4 feet of snow just out west of town because of how monstrous that was. And it was a huge blizzard for the whole eastern half of the country. There were tornadoes in Florida. It was a really bad storm just up and down the East Coast. I think that was the last time I saw a triple phase storm in the East. Even 2016 wasn't a triple phaser. This one isn't really a triple phaser either, because what you're going to see happen here is the energy gets kind of muddled, and what basically happens is these 2 pieces up top as we head into Wednesday night come together all right, but this guy stays as sort of its own little entity, and it leads the leading edge of the trough a little bit too far. Again, I'll explain this just in a minute, but see how there's still, as we get into Thursday morning, you have a nice zone of energy back here, and then you have almost like a separate piece leading it out in front. It's too far out ahead of the system. What we would have needed was these things to come together a little bit farther back, so that we could have developed the storm system down here and had it ride up the coast like that. That's what you want if you're here in DC and you like a big snow. That'll get you the big snow. Since it's way out in front, what's basically going to happen is you're going to develop the storm off the coast here, and then it's going to have to try and wrap its way back around the trough. So it's kind of going to be too far out to sea. All that being said, that doesn't mean we get off scot-free here. There is a chance that we could see some light snow. And given how cold, if you stepped outside at all this morning, you got back to work or got back to school, it's bone-chilling cold out there. We had single-digit temperatures. Ground temps are cold, so anything we're in and anything that falls will stick kind of scenario. Now the question is just, can we get things to fall and can we get things to stick? Switch models here. Let me go over. This is the brand new run of the American models. We always talk models here in weather. Brand new run of the American just came in. We didn't even have it for the show today. That's how new it is. Again, big Arctic high. That H right there is the guy that's bringing the cold. We get out into your daytime hours of Wednesday. We start developing the storm. There it is right there. Let me get rid of that red circle. There it is right there where my blue X is. But see where it developed? I'll back it up. See how it develops there kind of east of Florida? That's a little too far. It's a little bit too far south. I would have wanted it to develop kind of back in this region, which is where the storm in 1993 started to get its act together. Instead, it's doing it over here. That's a little bit too far east for what we like to see here in Washington. Doesn't mean everybody's going to get off scot-free. In fact, north of here, it might wrap around just in time to wallop New England with a big old-fashioned snowstorm. So if you're heading up to Boston mid-late week, watch out up there. Anyway, this is the new run of the GFS, and let me zoom in because look how close it gets us here as we work our way into your daytime hours on Thursday morning. This is at 7 a.m. Thursday morning. That GFS is awfully close. I mean, it's got snow a little bit in southern Maryland, but it is getting some steadier snows out on the eastern shore. So as things kind of stand right now, not a total miss, but in terms of it, this is where you want to be. See this heavy precip out here? That's your big snow bands and your heavy snow bands. This thing may creep close enough that you get a heavy snow band or two setting up along the coast. But as things stand at this moment, a lot has to change in order to get the heavier snows coming into DC. I don't think that's going to happen. I could be wrong, and things could change over the next 24 hours, but we have a very short time window here for things to kind of change. One thing of note, and if you follow any forecasters online, I've mentioned this on I'm at Mike T Fox 5 on Twitter. You can ask me any questions. I've been updating on the storm for several days now, and Mike Thomas Fox 5 on Facebook. I'll do another video tonight after the evening models come in to see if anything surprised us or if anything changes. But if you follow any weather folks online, we watch the trends. And if I go back here, see how this area, this was 2 model runs ago, it's farther off to the east. And now if I go forward here, watch as that low kind of jumps west. So see how that low's jumping west a bit, and how all the rain and snow kind of creeps a little closer to DC each and every time. That's a trend we have to watch. If you remember at the beginning of December, we had a storm that we thought was going to stay off the coast, and then in the last 24, 36 hours, it jumped a little bit north and west. If that thing continues to jump, then we could be talking maybe an inch or two here in DC, maybe a little bit more than that south and west of town, where winter storm watches are actually already up. Eastern Shore could potentially do 4 to 8 inches of snow. Ocean City, Maryland could have half a foot of snow on the ground by the time things wrap up Thursday afternoon. So again, more substantial amounts most certainly with this one are going to be east, just because ideally in the most ideal situation for a major snowstorm here in DC, you need this area of low pressure that's right there. You need it to be like right here. And that's a big distance to make up this late in the game, in my opinion. That's a couple 100, 200-300 mile distance there, I believe, that you have to make up to get that storm in the sweet spot, as we like to call it in the weather department, to get the big snows. Doesn't mean we're scot-free again on Thursday morning if we get even light snow here in DC with how cold it's been and how cold those ground temperatures are and how cold it's going to be. We're expecting temperatures in the 20s on Thursday morning. Your chemicals aren't going to work as well. Your salt's not going to work as well. Your grime, your sand, all of that's not going to work as well on this frozen earth as it will when temperatures are closer to 32, 33 degrees. So it is a concern, and it's especially a concern, again, the farther east you go, where the snow has the potential to be a little steadier. We're not putting amounts on it yet. I'll show you modeled amounts, but as for our forecast yet, we're not confident enough. Even though we're 48 hours from the game here, we're not confident enough to put any numbers out there just yet. Let's keep going on. We're going to look at the upper levels here. This is from Storm Vista. The greens and the colors, the yellows and the oranges and the greens, that's upper level stuff. And then your black lines there right here, that's the storm. GFS compared to European. That's the European. This is the latest GFS. I'll go back and forth. See the difference between the two? GFS was the farther east storm all day, and now it's finally started to come a little bit better west. So notice your storm position right there on the GFS, and let's back it up and look at the European. European's now the farther east one compared to what was before, where was the European was the farthest west and the GFS was the farthest east. Now they've kind of role reversed a little bit, but even the European model, which we like to think of as the most accurate, has been shifting a little bit west each and every time. Why? We have to go to the upper levels to figure that one out. Again, this is upper level energy. I'm going back to storm warning. This is 4 a.m. on Thursday morning, which is when things would potentially be at their worst here. 4, 5, 6 in the morning would be, if this thing came far enough west, that would be when the snow would kind of be at its steadiest. So you can see why we're concerned about it, because that would have morning commute impacts here. Notice the difference between the two models. Again, new GFS, old European. GFS European. So the European, generally the features are in the same spot, but notice where I put that blue circle here. Watch the new GFS. See how it's got a deeper orange there. It's a little stronger here. It's also stronger with the storm system in general. And that's another way we can get snow here in DC, is if this storm ends up intensifying a lot faster than the models are saying, and each run has been a little faster, intensifying the storm. The stronger the storm, the farther west you're going to get the precipitation. So that's, again, if you're a snow lover here in DC, we're still not talking big amounts, but that at least does increase our chances of getting a little bit of something here along the I-95. If you live west of town, because I'm sure people are asking questions, what's this mean for me? What's this mean for my town? If you live west of town, I-81, I don't like this. You got ways to go to even get some snow showers into your region. Right now, I-95, I think, is the sort of the cutoff point for where I think we can get some snow going. Anyway, the GFS is stronger with this piece here. It's got the stronger storm, but that piece is kind of key right here, because the stronger that piece is with the storm now out in front, you dig far enough under the storm, you're going to pull it back a little farther to the west. So the stronger that piece underneath is important. Again, European's a little farther west with it and not as strong, so it's not pulling the storm as hard. But we'll see if in the new run of the European, which doesn't start running for another hour and a half yet, if we don't get some increase in that energy. Models are going to start to get this a little better each time because we're getting so close out. They'll start to resolve the situation. All right, so what are we talking about snow total wise? Again, depends on which model you look at. So just know this is all raw model data and doesn't necessarily entail the whole picture. But right now, latest European we have, which again is several hours old here, it's getting just a light amount, maybe up to an inch, 1 to 2 inches down extreme southern portions of St. Mary's County. And then your jackpot zones on the eastern shore, of course, and that shading of blue right there near Ocean City is 4 to 6 inches of snow. Not bad. That is from the European. And again, that doesn't mean we don't get anything. This model, note this, it starts at an inch, so it's not going to show anybody that gets less than an inch of snow. You're still, through portions of Charles or Calvert and Charles and southern Prince George's County, still getting like a less than an inch of snow kind of thing out of this, but you're not getting into the extreme amounts. But again, if it comes at 4 or 5 in the morning, it's not going to take much to at least get some delays around here. So that's why we're watching this kind of so carefully. Over to the GFS kind of things. Let me expand my screen out to capture everything. I want to get their logo too, because I do use the pivotal weather a little bit. Here's the latest GFS from the new one that just came in. I think this is underplaying it on the eastern shore. I think they're going to do better than 3 inches around Salisbury and around Ocean City. I think this storm's going to get close enough to give them a halfway decent snow. It's getting an inch down southern Maryland, same kind of deal, and putting like dusting to half an inch down through Calvert, Charles. And again, amounts don't look that impressive, but we're concerned with this storm because a small shift north and west, like we saw happen in early December, could quickly bring that 2 inches much closer to DC. So I'll show you another way of looking at it in just a second. So take this model data. It's just data. It's going to adjust based on how models adjust. So we have to watch it as we head forward, as we go through the next few hours or next 24 hours here, as we get more data in. The most aggressive model with it for sure is this North American model. So North American model in terms of develop, and I don't want to go into too much detail, but this isn't my favorite model for big storms just because of what the model was built. This model was built to be a thunderstorm model. It wasn't necessarily built to handle these big storms, but we still look at it, and it tends to do all right as we get inside of 24 hours. We're not there yet, but right now it's the farthest west with the storm by far, in my opinion. Just not one of the ones that's I'm most trusted. It's not my most trusted model at this time, is kind of what I'm trying to say. But I will show it just because you'll probably see it on social media if I don't. Again, nice strong low, 987 low, that's a good low. And see that precip shield getting right back to the I-95 with snowfall on during the morning hours. And it gets half an inch here into DC, nearly an inch through Prince George's County, 2 inches into Charles County there. Probably portions of Calvert too, and then into southern Maryland, like your Leonardtown and your tip of St. Mary's County, 3, maybe even 4 inches, again, if the NAM's right, and then there's your jackpots, 9, 10, even 13, 14 inches of snow in Ocean City. That might be a little on the high side, but we'll see. I think they could totally do it out there to the east, and I will mention, in fact, let me go to it now just so everybody can see, on weather.gov, they do have out there, and it's right at the bottom of your screen here, winter storm watches that go into effect, or that are basically in effect now, and they'll be upgraded if need be into to winter storm warnings as the model data continues to come in, and we'll see. As for what they're expecting from this storm out west, they're going 4 or 5 inches out towards the beaches at this time. Again, they'll up those if they need to. That's National Weather Service. As for us here locally, here's their general thinking from our local National Weather Service office right now. They're going 2 to 3 down southern portions of St. Mary's County. Given what we have at this moment, closer to the 2 than the 3, but I could see how 3, 4 is a possibility. I hope that makes sense to everybody. They're not giving us much of anything here in D.C., but they have noted multiple times that there is the chance they will have to bring that north and west if the trend seen in the model continues. You see, they haven't really updated this. 3:30 in the morning was the last time they updated this graphic. Now I'll show you how bad could it possibly, like what's a worst case scenario? This is their worst case scenario map. So note this, not a forecast. Be careful when you look at this. Not a forecast, and this isn't what's expected at this time. But if things shift in a direction that brings the storm closer to the shoreline, here's what we could potentially be looking at. They're saying potentially up to 5, potentially up to 6 for Baltimore. Lexington Park, potentially over half a foot of snow. But again, notice that's your 1 in 10 chance. That's your 90th percentile, as we call it. We're on the outside looking in as far as those amounts go. So that's what kind of my snow discussion here. Again, I know people are snow hungry out there. I'm snow hungry. Tucker's over there. He's snow hungry. He's been staring at the models just as much as I have been over the past few days. We'll keep our fingers crossed we can get something. Winter's very young. People, I know we were cold in November. I know we were cold in December. We finished December only half a degree below normal, believe it or not. So in the weather world, that's about normal month of December, plus or minus 0.5 on either side. So far in December, we're starting off 16 degrees below normal after just one day, and or in January, I'm sorry, we're starting off 16.5 degrees below normal, and we'll see. We're only going to add on to it over the days to come because we're going to be extremely cold. The one guarantee that I have with the storm, that Tucker has with the storm, is that it's going to send the coldest air yet so far down our way. Heading back over the tropical tidbits now. Your storm, this is. Back it up. Your storm is going to develop. So, little fun meteorology 101. Where the storms develop, they develop along fronts. And notice where the green and blue meet. That's your frontal system draped across the south. It's really far south. We want a good storm here in D.C. You want that front a little farther north. Anyway, storm develops along the front. Things start to move a little bit. Storm gets as close as it will, but what we guarantee happens is the coldest air sitting over Canada right now is over the Hudson Bay. It's in the eastern portion of Canada. This guy is going to come up. It's going to really strengthen very rapidly. It's going to undergo what we call bombogenesis, which is when a storm rapidly intensifies. It's going to give blizzard conditions, and I will quickly go back and mention that. If you're traveling north for business, for pleasure, for whatever be you, and you're heading to Boston, or any portions of Maine or upstate New England, blizzard conditions quite possible, if not likely, as you head into the second half of the day on Thursday up that way. They're going to get a big snowstorm out of this. In fact, if you want to see it, I'll show you. Let's go to. Let's see if I can find the snow. Where do they put it? Let's see if they have it. Total snowfall. They're talking potentially upwards of 2 feet of snow in some spots, but I think a foot to a foot and a half, possibly up towards Boston and locations up to the north there. Run that thing forward. There you go. So widespread kind of 13, 14, 15, 16-inch amounts up in that direction. So be aware of that if you're heading off to the north. Again, we're just missing a big one. We're missing it. So close yet so far away kind of thing here. Anyway, one thing that absolutely will do, low goes up to the north there. It gets up near Nova Scotia. It's going to send all that cold air down. Air rotates counterclockwise around these big areas of low pressure, and the stronger they get, the more they're able to move things. That guy's going to go up. Warm air is going to flood its eastern flank, and cold air is going to dive down its western flanks, and it's headed right for us. We are in the bullseye of this next Arctic cold blast, and if you thought it was cold so far, I'm sorry, but the worst is yet to come. That's just the reality. Worst is yet to come in the cold department. Friday and Saturday, your 2 Arctic blast days here in D.C. And if you want school delays, I saw someone say, what about Pittsburgh? As far as this storm's concerned, Terry, Pittsburgh is not even going to come close to getting any snow. They might get snow along the Arctic front, but they're not going to get any snow from this coastal storm going up. Anyway, big time cold coming our way. If you want school delays, if you're concerned about your kids having school delays, right now more so than I'm concerned about school delays on Thursday morning, which I would be most concerned areas east, St. Mary's County. I'll put you in it as a concern for some delays. Eastern Shore, there could be some closings. But I don't think there's going to be a massive amount around the D.C. area, especially not west of town. I wouldn't count on this. Do your homework. But there could be more widespread delays, not so much closings. Because I'm still new to this whole closing for cold temperatures things. But we did have some delays this morning due to the extreme wind chills out there, which were -0 to -10. We could do some school delays, I think, here in the D.C. region on a widespread basis on Friday morning, because this storm is going to be super strong, and it's going to be bringing down winds 20 to 30 miles an hour at times, and that's going to get those wind chill values low. We're talking widespread -10s, -15s, potentially -20s. You could do, and I haven't seen it in a very long time, they could do wind chill warnings. We'll do wind chill advisories, no doubt, here in D.C. for wind chills up to -20 degrees. You go below -20, it's dangerous. It could be deadly if you're caught out in the cold for too long underprotected. So they could do wind chill warnings. I could see that being issued north and west of town, and I don't think I've seen that any time in recent memory. At least, certainly not since I've been working for Fox. I don't think in my professional career I've seen wind chill warnings north and west of town. I'm sure they've happened at some point, but not in my recent memory that I can kind of channel here. So that's another big concern we have here. And let me show you our 7-day here. I'll pull it up. I got it queued up. Our 7-day forecast has 9 degrees. There it is. Look at Saturday morning, 9 degrees. So we can just go through this. 33 is going to feel awfully nice tomorrow after the Arctic chill that's been the past few days, but we won't hit it for long. We're still spending most of the day below freezing. That's not going to help the ground temps at all. Anything that is able to get this far west on Thursday will stick. I have no doubt about that. It's going to be snow all the way to the coast. I have no doubt about that. There's too much cold air in place. So if you're watching from Ocean City or you're watching from the Eastern Shore, you're going to get some snow. I'm pretty confident about the Eastern Shore. I'm not confident here along the I-95. You get out to the weekend, look at that, 21 on Friday. Winds will be blowing all day on Friday. They will be whipping, and again, a morning low of 12 on Friday morning. You put a 30-mile-an-hour wind in that, you are most certainly going to be dealing with some just brutal cold. And we say that a lot, but it could be dangerous out there on Friday morning if you're underprotected. So take that into account. We head into Saturday. We'll lose the wind at least, but that'll allow temperatures to drop widespread single digits Saturday morning. And then as we get into Sunday, we'll finally start to break things a little bit. And then you see that last day, 45 degrees. I have a chance of rain and or snow in there kind of right now, and or sleet and or ice. Chances beyond this one. And this will be the last thing. We'll wrap it up. I'll get out of here. And I'll stop bothering everybody online. Let's talk about what could potentially come next here, what other things I kind of see in the future. So cold comes in this weekend. This is back to the European model here. See those purple dashed lines? That's really cold. Remember the polar vortex years? A little piece of the polar vortex is going to kind of be it's not the polar vortex itself, but it's a piece of the polar vortex is going to be sitting over basically just north of Lake Erie. That's why we're going to be so brutally cold this weekend. We get out into Sunday, we warm it up a little bit, and then the concern always becomes when the cold air starts to leave, because when the cold air starts to leave, you got warmth and moisture down there that's going to try and poke its way forward. We had a horribly dry December, only I think half an inch of liquid all December. We're in a moderate drought at the moment. We need to get some moisture in here, but when the moisture comes up, we have to watch the surface features. I see a 1025 high. You don't need to know what that means. Just know that it's a pretty strong high just off to our north here as moisture's coming up. One thing models will do awful with is icing situations. If you have that strong of a high and you're breaking a cold pattern, we're at 32 degrees for a high on Sunday, you could hold that 32 degrees in. If you got a high up here, what you do is you basically, let me clear everything off because it's getting chaotic. You have a high up here, you're pulling in an east wind, that cold air gets jammed up against the Appalachian Mountains, and then what happens is you're cold at the surface, but you're warm in the upper levels, so you're raining above our heads, but then you're freezing whatever falls on the ground. So I would have to say I watch next Monday. We'll keep an eye on next Monday, next Tuesday-ish, time frame for when this moisture starts making its way back into our region and the cold pattern starts to break a little bit. We'll have to watch that for the potential for an ice kind of situation. That's going to be a storm that likely takes a Great Lakes run just because of how upper level features are. That doesn't look like it could potentially become a coastal. I think that one's going up the interior. Again, it'd be sort of a sleet, potential for a sleet ice thing that goes over to all rain eventually. That would be the concern there, or my concern there at this time. We go out a little bit farther forward, that storm goes up. Guess what it does? It goes up into Canada, it kicks up some cold air. There's your piece of the polar vortex kind of sitting right there. That sends cold air back down in our direction later as we head into the middle of next week. And then guess what? Once you do that, you'll have to watch out for yet another cool down. And behind the cool down, you'll have to watch out for yet another chance for something to kind of round the bend. There is, and it's pretty well modeled here, if I can get out of this, and I'll show it to you. Let me switch models real quick. I will end on this note. Again, just things to kind of watch in the future here. Let me go. We'll do this. 500 anomaly. Big trough. Here, trough breaks a little bit. This guy right here is of interest to me. That was from last time I did stuff. Watch this guy here. It's going to round the bend as we go. I think it's that piece. Let me go forward a little bit here. Yeah. So we have cold come down. That's a piece of energy that's going to try and come off the Pacific. So that's going to try and come in, maybe get trapped underneath, and then try and exit in this general area. If we have an Arctic high come across at the same time and stay to our north as that piece of energy rounds the bends, we could do something more significant here as we head into kind of the middle portion of the month. It's a long way off. I know how it is, guys. You all don't trust us past, today anyway. So I get how that is in the weather world. That's how things just work for us. So again, that's kind of what we're watching. Thursday still, believe it or not, even though it's Tuesday afternoon now, Thursday's still up in the air. How far west does that snow come? Confident in the eastern shore, getting several inches of snow. Not confident in us here in D.C. It is too close to call at this point. We'll have to see what the next 24 hours bring us. Brutally cold on Friday. Yes, I think you could get some school delays around the region just because of how bad the wind chills are going to be on Friday morning, with winds blowing and temperatures in the single digits for a lot of our suburbs. And then as we head into the week beyond, we'll have to watch out for potentially, again, Monday. Lots of potentials here, I know. It's how it works in weather. Potentially some sort of sleet or ice event. There is that potential. Monday, Tuesday time frame. And then late as we get towards the following weekend, if things pan out. Very far in the future. Again, it's winter time, folks. Every now and then something's bound to happen, right? We'll get a little bit of energy and moisture in here later. All right, I have to go because Molly's waiting to get on here. If you want to come, now Molly's going to update on news headlines and all those other fun things. She's going to be over on our YouTube channel, Fox 5 DC on YouTube. So if you're watching on Facebook, we're aware that we're doing that. You can head over to YouTube, Fox 5 DC, youtube.com/Fox5DC. Find our page, and if you want to subscribe, we do these kind of things every day. I'll be back on talking about the weather whenever things kind of hit. If you have any questions for me, I won't have time to answer all the questions right now, but you can find me on Twitter, Mike T Fox 5, Mike Thomas Fox 5 on Facebook, and I'll try and answer absolutely everything I can. And I'm going to do another little personal video on my Facebook page after all the evening models come in, and we'll see if we had some more positive trends in our direction for snow. I'm a snow lover. I want some snow here. I'd be happy with some snow on Thursday morning. We'll see what we're dealing with. All right, guys, that's kind of all I have for the daytime today. Again, Molly is coming back in just a minute here. She will have the latest news headlines for you. Other than that, I will sign off for now. Again, I'll kind of send you out with that same kind of graphic here, showing you what we think is kind of the situation. Actually, you know what? Let me have a live look at the Capitol, because it's a nice day. It looks at least like a nice day outside, with winds are whipping a little bit. But other than that, lots of sunshine out there. Stay warm, everybody. That's kind of the gist of things. We will see you all tomorrow. Take care, guys.
All right, y'all, we are back in the newsroom for Fox 5 Live. I'm Molly Nivola here at Fox 5 Digital News, and we're so glad to have you back in 2018. So happy New Year to all of you guys. If you haven't been on with us, hopefully you heard a little bit of Mike's weather outlook and forecast for the day, talking about if there's going to be any snow for us here in the DMV area. Hope everybody had a safe and happy New Year's wherever you were. And if you aren't in a place with frigid temperatures like here in DC or in New England, where I actually was for the holiday, hopefully you're nice and warm and lucky for you guys. But if you're on the stream, if you are joining us for the chat, please do chat along with us as we talk about any live and breaking news today that we have. Today, I want to show you first, in the spirit of New Year's, I don't know if anybody caught this video, but check out this video from Coney Island Polar Bear Club, you guys. These people are either the craziest people that you know, or who knows, but these frigid temperatures did not stop the club to brave sub-zero wind chills and the water temperatures there in Coney Island. And Fox 5 local news in New York was actually at this event, and you can see here some of their interviews.
Warmer inside the water than it is outside of the water. In the water, it's 37 degrees. Out here, it's hardly reaching the teens. Now, first responders aren't taking any chances. They have divers in the water, police boats on the water, helicopters overhead, and the FDNY on shore has a heating tent set up with ambulances on hand.
The first responders came in handy for at least one swimmer who had to be treated inside an ambulance. EMTs on scene said he's going to be okay.
It's a pretty glorious beach day as far as I'm concerned.
President of the Coney Island Polar Bear Club, Dennis Thomas, says they meet every Sunday, November through April, for a swim. So today is hardly the coldest he's ever experienced. But for those storming the sea outside the club,
this is definitely the coldest year.
Hundreds took part Monday, some dressed as unicorns, others wore swimsuits, many dressed as sea creatures.
People are like, isn't it cold? I'm like, you gotta be squidding me.
For Joe Franco, it was her first plunge ever.
Nothing like a little numbness to remind you. You still got everything on you and everything is good.
The polar bear plunge has been a tradition since 1903. The money raised this year will go to the Alliance for Coney Island and the New York Aquarium. Many say the dive into freezing waters is not just a bucket list moment, but the perfect way to wash off the old and welcome the new.
That's what makes it so great for New Year's. You really leave last year behind you.
In Coney Island, I'm Kayla Mamalak, Fox 5 News.
All right, guys, so I want to show you that segment from yesterday because it was pretty astounding to see some of these people doing that, and with these temperatures, it really does become sort of a medical risk. So I want to know, where were you guys for New Year's if you were in the brutal Arctic blast all up and down the East Coast? Some people were in snow, I think more in sort of the Midwest and West, but it is cold really everywhere. So we're all kind of dealing with it on this second day of the year. So again, Happy New Year, guys, and thanks for coming back on to our stream here. So before we get into sort of some more what is happening live right now, there's a flag ceremony happening at the UN, some other politics as Congress is back, President Trump is back at the White House, and they have a big to-do list for 2017, so we'll be jumping into some of those political events this week. The White House briefing is back today. We should have Sarah Sanders coming up on our stream for that. And also today at around 12:30 Eastern Time, New York City Mayor Bill de Blasio is going to be talking about new precautions that they're taking in New York for terror attacks and what they're doing to prevent that in this new year. Some other talkers, guys. Hoda Kotb has taken Matt Lauer's spot on the Today Show. So 2 women will host the Today Show for the first time, Savannah Guthrie and Hoda Kotb. So that's pretty exciting. Been seeing those tweets circulating around all morning. And other people are talking about dry January, which is, of course, essentially ditching the alcohol for the month of January. It's become a lot of people's New Year's resolutions, but a lot of people take it on for just the month as an annual tradition. Kind of an interesting thing. I was actually reading more about it today, about people's resolution to drink less and to detox for the month of January, and sort of how that really becomes effective when it sort of changes your vision or your position sort of with alcohol for the whole year. That's really when it becomes effective. But in that same vein, we did a cool segment yesterday on our morning show about New Year's resolutions and some alternatives resolutions than sort of the typical ones. And Dr. Shilpi was in studio to talk about some of those. So I want to show you that video from yesterday. Allison Seymour was hosting that she was anchoring it on the morning show. So I'm going to play out that segment for you guys to enjoy from yesterday, and then we'll come back for some live news.
That means resolutions. Do you make them? I do. The gym is often a go-to, but our next guest is no stranger to the show. She's here every Monday with us, and she says even though self-care and gym is important, she wants us to think about other ways to stay well mentally and physically as we head into the new year. Here to show us some New Year's resolutions, wellness style, is our good friend, Dr. Shilpi Agarwal. Good morning. Happy New Year.
Happy New Year.
Yay. Nobody could. Here we go. Yay! All right. So, okay, going to the gym, of course.
Yes.
Physical fitness, of course. Right. But you're talking
I'm
about
all about
other
that,
things.
right? Healthy eating,
right.
Physical fitness. But in addition to those, I want people to make other New Year's resolutions that also can be beneficial for them and make them feel good, but have nothing to do with working out.
And make other people feel good.
Exactly. Right. Which brings me to my first one. So number one, at this time of year and just in general, we have a lot of elderly folks and people that sometimes get forgotten. Yeah. So loneliness is a big problem now, and we see that in a lot of our studies. So calling a relative or visiting them
is it because of the holidays? Is it because of winter?
It's because everyone stays inside. Exactly. It's very cold, so there's less of that human interaction. So if you call people, make a plan to get together, especially those elderly folks, that is great. And it's not just great for them, Allison. You feel that personal connection and you feel so good about yourself. So just generally connecting with others, but especially the elderly. That's very important.
I would agree with this also because my dad was never a phone person, but I've noticed like he definitely wants to reach out and call, hey, can we call so-and-so? And it's very sweet. So I love that.
And you see them get so excited and they make that, reestablish that connection. So I love that.
Me too.
Call the relatives, okay? And then number two, dry January. Have you heard of this concept?
I have not heard of this.
Okay, so
because I'm not a big drinker, maybe that's why.
Okay, well, that's good then. A good start already. Okay. During the month of January, people give up alcohol, and they do this all around the nation. And what's really great about this is you have a built-in support system, because if you look on social media and online, people are giving up alcohol for this whole month. Really great, because not only does it help you because you're not adding in those toxins to your body, drinking a lot, you had a heavy holiday season of drinking, but also 2 other reasons that I love. First, it helps your sleep, which is great.
Yes.
And number 2, you save a lot of money by not drinking.
Right.
So dry January, if you're thinking about doing something, the other thing is it's finite, right? It's from now until the end of January.
Right.
So you can give up the alcohol and then you've made it. You already succeeded in one resolution.
Shilpi, what's a safe amount of alcohol to drink? Like a glass of wine a day?
Generally, if you're a woman, we recommend 1 glass per day. And then if you're a male, 2 drinks per day. So the ounces vary, and I can post that for you. But wine, beer is great. It's already pre-portioned, a 12-ounce serving. But wine, we're looking at that more 4 to 5 ounce serving. And be very careful, because if you aren't doing dry January, it's easy to kind of overpour.
Yeah, other than that, you don't want to do that.
Yes,
okay.
Drink more water. I hear that all the time, right? And I love that resolution. It's very easy to do. But the first thing you need to do if you're going to drink more water is actually have a bottle with you. If you just say, hey, I'm going to drink more water, what's going to keep you in check? Not much, right? So drink more water by getting a good water bottle.
Okay.
That's number 3.
I want the big one to know, like, so I can definitely get 8 glasses. I want a 64-ounce water bottle.
So yeah, they come in liter sizes. That's actually the one that I recommend to people to get is the liter size bottle. So you can drink 2, be done.
Okay.
Okay, so decluttering is the other big thing.
Terrible.
We know that people who are not organized and very cluttered, which I mean, I'm kind of sometimes not organized, but they are more stressed and they have a little bit more anxiety. So
I think you feel bad about yourself too.
You do, because you always see that mess.
And when I come in, I'm like, this is ridiculous, and I feel like I can't breathe and the whole thing. But I'm just gonna be honest, that Oprah magazine is hard to get through in a month. So I have like a big stack of it.
Okay,
She's the main
me
culprit.
Too. My own American Academy magazine that I sometimes read, sometimes I use it as a fly swatter, right? But it's collecting dust. So either cancel your magazine subscriptions or first start by taking that stack and just recycling it. You know, because if you keep looking at it, it's going to frustrate you. But magazines is the easiest way to start with decluttering. In general, when you have a clean office space, you feel good, you're more productive.
And I think it speaks to maybe keeping 15 minutes for yourself in the day, because I seriously just cannot get to the articles, and I know there's something that I want to read. So maybe take time out to do it.
That is a great point.
Yeah.
Schedule some time, read your magazine, enjoy your coffee or tea, and read that magazine. And then you can toss it. And you feel good about it, you learn something, and it's not a device or TV.
Or save it for when you take an amazing trip.
Yes, you have hopefully one coming up. And then last but not least, New Year's resolutions do not have to be all bad things that are getting corrected, right? You can make resolutions where you're doing something fun for yourself, or if you've done all of those good things and you reward yourself. So traveling more, I think that is a great option and a great New Year's resolution that every single person should have, because they get to learn more about other people, themselves, their cultures. Even within our country, we have so many great places to see.
I always wanted to go see all the states.
There's so much natural beauty, but going abroad, you meet and see other people and learn about other cultures, and it's fun, and it takes you out of the, you know, hamster wheel of everybody every day.
Happy New Year, Shilpi.
Happy New Year.
We'll see you on Monday.
Yes.
We appreciate you coming in. Every Monday, you always have the good props.
No problem.
We don't take you for granted, so we'll see you next week. All right, Tucker, over to you.
That is so true. So that was Dr. Shilpi on the New Year's Day morning broadcast, and we're actually going to have her on our Skype tomorrow. She's going to be calling in and talking more about these topics, alternative New Year's resolutions, and also more about dry January, what it really means. I'm thinking about doing it myself as well, although I will mention I had a Bloody Mary on New Year's Day, so I already nixed that off for the first, but if I go into this month fresh starting today, that might just work. I will also say for myself, another big resolution that I'm doing sort of also is kind of an alternative is unsubscribing from tons of mail lists that I have in my email. I thought that was a good one for me this year because I just get so accustomed to them and I end up just deleting things and everything gets jumbled. And in this technical age and digital age, we all want to have a cleaner mailbox. So that's one of my bigger ones. I'm going to unsubscribe from stuff I don't look at and just be a little more organized on that front. And then a couple other resolutions as well that I have. So I want to know about yours as well, if you guys have any thoughts on that before we go over to New York City for the mayor event. This is actually pretty cool. This is going to be a live press conference with Mayor Bill de Blasio about new barriers that they're putting up to prevent terror attacks from vehicles coming onto the sidewalk. Now, we know that was a big risk and a threat this year after the terrorist attack in New York City when the truck came onto that bike path. And did a lot of destruction and damage and was fatal, of course, in New York. And so we're going to be hearing from the mayor on the new precautions that they're taking in New York. It looks like the shot is up, so we're going to go over there. But anyway, a quick reminder that Dr. Shilpi will be hopefully on with us tomorrow to talk more about resolutions and dry January and whatnot as we go into this new year. All right, that's all I got for that. Let's go over to New York, and then we'll come up back with more breaking news from our newsroom as it comes to us. If you guys are new to our show or just joining us, welcome to Fox 5 Live, our digital stream just inside the newsroom as we chat with some people who are doing stories today. Not a ton of people around right now, but we'll see what breaks throughout the afternoon, and we'll hopefully go over to the White House as well. We haven't heard from them in a while. Congress and the president have been sort of on vacation, a little more inactive, but we got a lot of things looming for the new year, so hopefully we'll make sure we get that on our stream today. All right, over to New York City, guys.
tall for me. You want to do a mic check of some sort? I'm not tall enough, though. Okay, mic check. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3, 4. You're hearing me good? Good? Nods? That's good. All right.
Test 1, 2. Okay, we're ready. Okay, welcome everybody, and thanks for coming out here. It's a very important announcement today, even though it's very cold out. We wanted you to see up close these new bollards and what they're going to mean for the safety of the people of this city. I want to thank all my colleagues who are here. You will hear from a few of them in a moment. Special thank you to Deputy Commissioner John Miller, Chief Jim Waters, Chief Bill Morris, everyone who has been part of helping us get to this day. You know, on Sunday night, the NYPD proved once again why they're the greatest police force in the world. Huge celebration of New Year's Eve here in Times Square. And it came off beautifully, came off without a hitch. People were protected. Once again, the eyes of the world were on New York, and the NYPD was up to the task. And we now are celebrating the safest year in New York City since the 1950s. We are so proud of that. We are celebrating a number of amount of crime reduction that is absolutely amazing. The lowest number of homicides since 1951. And more clearly than ever, we are the safest big city in America. We know, though, we have to keep working to make this city even safer. And we understand what's happening around the world, and we even saw some tragedies here. The horrible attack in November on the West Side, and the tragic incident here in Times Square in May. We know we have to do even more to keep people safe. And that's why we conducted a review on how best to secure our streets and public spaces, and we formulated a plan of action. Over the past few months, you've seen around the city in key locations temporary barriers. And that was necessary to immediately secure those areas in light of these new trends we've seen. But we knew we needed long-term solutions. We needed permanent barriers. And that they had to integrate into the life of the city. They had to still allow people to get around. Because these are some of the busiest streets in the world. People have to be able to get around, but they have to be safe at the same time. These new bollards will allow us to do that. We're announcing today a $50 million investment in protective measures, key locations around the city. And that will include the installation of over 1,500 permanent bollards like the ones you see here behind us. And these bollards will make sure that the vehicles can never come into the places where pedestrians are. I want to thank everyone in the City Council for focusing on this issue and passing key legislation that led to the study and led to this plan. And I also want to thank the council for their support of the investments we need to protect ourselves against attacks. And I want to tell you, these are the most cowardly kind of attacks. When someone with a vehicle plows into a group of innocent pedestrians, it's disgusting. But we know there are some out there who mean to do us evil, and we will protect against it. It's also important to recognize that sometimes we've seen tragedies that were not based on an attack. We've seen cars that just spun out of control, or reckless drivers, or someone who, God forbid, had a heart attack while driving. We've seen cars go into pedestrian areas. We want to make sure in some of the most heavily traveled areas of the city that these bollards protect against those kind of tragedies as well. And this certainly is consistent with something that we're so proud of, which is the Vision Zero initiative, which also had a banner year in 2017 and saved more lives. And it's also consistent with making sure we protect people in every neighborhood. It's another way of thinking about what we can do street by street, block by block to make people safer. We are the safest big city in America, and we need to make sure we have the safest streets and the safest sidewalks as well. And this major investment will help us to be even safer going forward. Just want to say a few words in Spanish. Siempre estamos trabajando para mejorar más la seguridad en las calles de la ciudad grande más segura de nuestra nación. Hoy estamos anunciando una inversión de $50 millones en barreras de protección para toda la ciudad. Así vamos a mantener los autos donde deben estar y proteger a los peatones de amenazas a su seguridad. With that, I want to thank for his leadership, and I want to congratulate him today, and I'm going to be congratulating him a lot this week for an absolutely historic achievement in making this the safest big city in America. Our Commissioner, Jimmy O'Neill.
Thank you. Good afternoon, everyone. Thanks for coming out into the cold with us once again. And if you worked on Sunday night or yesterday, you're probably still thawing out. So, first of all, Happy New Year's to everyone. We had a safe event here on Sunday night. Thousands of cops once again spent time away from their families to make sure they do what they do best, and that's to keep New Yorkers safe. Everything we do in the New York City Police Department is geared toward keeping people safe, and that will always be our obligation. No matter how low, we're able to push down crime and violence. And the people who live in, work in, and visit New York City deserve to not only be safe, they deserve to feel safe too. We're a very busy city, as you know. More than 8.5 million people, plus the millions more who come in daily to work or to enjoy this great city. These additional safety bollards will allow us to better protect many of our landmark locations, many of the areas most frequently used for recreation. They'll also help us keep order as it relates to all of the competing vehicular, bicycle, and pedestrian traffic that defines our great city. We need to keep as many of our spaces as welcoming as possible, while also making sure they're safe as possible, too. Thank you to the Mayor, Commissioner Trottenberg, and the City's Security Infrastructure Working Group for devoting some real resources toward this important plan. We're continuing to work with our law enforcement and other partners at the state level, too, as we make our way forward together. Thank you very much. Thanks.
And a tremendous partner with the NYPD in this work has been the Department of Transportation, making sure that these bollards will keep us safe, but also allow people to get around, again, the busiest place in the world. I want to welcome our Transportation Commissioner, Polly Trottenberg.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Good morning. Happy New Year's. It is great to stand here with you and Police Commissioner O'Neill and Counterterrorism Commissioner Miller. Maybe I'll wait till the siren goes by. And We're thrilled as DOT to be part of the city security infrastructure working group that is looking with the resources you've given us, Mr. Mayor, to improve the safety and security of so many of the iconic pedestrian spaces in New York City. And from DOT's point of view, we obviously want to make sure that these spaces are inviting, that pedestrians can flow, that people feel safe but can also enjoy the public spaces. So thank you so much for the resources, and we look forward to continuing the work with these new resources.
Thank you so much, Commissioner. We are working with our colleagues in elective office at all levels because we understand this is a challenge facing this city, but it's also a challenge facing our nation. And I want to welcome a member of Congress who has taken the lead on this issue nationally in making sure that there be federal strategy and federal support for these type of safety measures. Congressmember Adriano Espaillat.
Thank you, Mayor. Commissioner, thank you for your leadership, making this the biggest, safest city in the country and perhaps the world. And this is a great initiative. New York City once again leads in public safety issues, and this is why I've introduced legislation, bipartisan legislation, with Congressman Donovan from Staten Island to try to secure a funding stream for a decade, for 10 years, for the installation of these bollards. This is not just a New York City issue. This is a U.S. issue, and we're hopeful that this will reduce any potential terrorist attacks, or even I think that it will create also a deterrent, which is very important, a deterrent for this to occur, not to occur again. And so this is New York City at its very best, leading the rest of the country and the world in these initiatives. Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, Commissioner. Thank you, Police Commissioner.
Thank you, Congressman. We are in the district of Councilmember Corey Johnson. I also will note that I think tomorrow is going to be a very important day for the council member and for the whole city. So I welcome him and I warmly congratulate him in advance. Councilmember Corey Johnson.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. First, I want to take a moment to acknowledge the selfless, hardworking members of the New York City Police Department who do incredible work every single day to keep our city safe. The cowardly act of terror that took place on Halloween, which originated in my district at Howson Street and the Hudson River Greenway, did not change who we are as New Yorkers, but it compelled us to take action and precaution. New Yorkers are strong, as we know. New Yorkers are resilient, and when they are faced with challenges, we move forward to ensure that tragedies that do not need to occur do not occur. Today, I'm proud to join Mayor de Blasio, Commissioner O'Neill, Commissioner Trottenberg, my friend and colleague Adonis Rodriguez, and Congressman Espaillat as we unveil another tool to help bolster our city and keep it safe. I stand here fully supporting the installation of security bollards throughout all 5 boroughs. With the installation of these bollards, we're taking the next step in proving New York City is on track to stay the safest big city in America. The City Council immediately saw the need for this after the Halloween incident, and even before that when there was the incident a year and a half ago here in Times Square, and has passed legislation recently sponsored by our Transportation Chair and my good friend and colleague Adonis Rodriguez, which requires the Department of Transportation and the Parks Department to report on the installation of these bollards. We are really happy with the partnership with Mayor de Blasio and his administration in moving forward with this installation, and I want to thank Adonis Rodriguez for his advocacy and efforts on this. Bollards will prevent acts of terror and mass destruction in crowded areas such as the area we're in, Times Square. It's fitting that we're here in the heart of Midtown when tourism is at record highs during this holiday season. Our great city is home to over 8.5 million New Yorkers, and it attracts almost 60 million people every single year, which makes our city a prime target. Because of this unfortunate truth, it is imperative that we take action to protect all New Yorkers. We are the most vibrant city in the world, and that is never going to change. I want to again thank the mayor for starting off this new year with incredible crime statistics. And with this good announcement today, I want to thank Commissioner Trottenberg, Congressman Espaillat, Councilman Rodriguez, and our incredible police commissioner, who the mayor gives him a lot of credit. More New Yorkers need to give him a lot of credit. Commissioner O'Neill is not just the guy doing the top level stuff that you see in the news. When I have an incident in my district, he calls me and asks what is going on. We are very lucky to have him as commissioner of the NYPD, and I'm grateful to be here today for this announcement. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. Thank you. Finally, I want to bring up the man who, as you heard, originated the legislation to get the study done so we could lock down a plan and start getting these bollards in place. I want to thank him for his leadership and for everything he's done as chair of the Transportation Committee in the Council. Councilmember Idanis Rodriguez.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, and I'm happy to be here with you, NYPD Commissioner, DOT, the Congressman, and most important, the person who after tomorrow will be our newest Speaker of the Council, Corey Johnson. So it is important to be in this important announcement. We need to save life, and we need to be sure that we continue making our city, under the leadership of Mayor de Blasio, the new Speaker Corey Johnson, and the commissioners, a city safe for pedestrians and drivers. More and over, we have seen how vehicles have been used as a weapon of mass destruction in London, in Asia, here in our own city. And we had to stop. And the only tools that we have right now is the pedestrian bollards. So from the beginning, it didn't make sense that I saw all the bollards in front of Bank of America at 6th Avenue and 42nd Street in one side, but not having the pedestrian bollards across the street or in front of the theater at 42nd between 8 and 7. I know that this is only a beginning, and we are committed to make our city safer for pedestrians and cyclists. Para mí es un día muy importante comenzar el día de hoy con el próximo vocero del Consejo Municipal, Corey Johnson, el alcalde de Blasio, anunciando 50 millones para hacer de las aceras de la ciudad lugares más seguros para los peatones y los ciclistas. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, brother. Thank you very much. Everyone, this is an important day for the city, important progress. There will be more to come, but we wanted you to see, as this begins, what this means for the people of the city. With that, everybody, again, a very happy new year, and stay warm. Thank you.
So some happy New Year wishes there from Mayor Bill de Blasio in New York City, announcing that New York has been doing really well as far as it goes for safety and terrorist attacks, and even the announcement here of these new bollards that they're going to be putting up to prevent more attacks this year. So really, really good news for the police department that Times Square on New Year's Eve went so well. Looks like that feed just ended, so we'll come back in here. And also some really, really good news in general. Just that, like I said, the celebration went so well. They had thousands of New York City police deployed and on patrol and on call for that night. Always a big anticipated night, of course, of the year for safety. Also another interesting stat of 2017, there were no commercial jet airline deaths in 2017. It was actually the safest year to fly. So some pretty good news there coming from the commercial airlines. So really, really interesting, kind of wrapping up 2017 and learning more about some of the new precautions these bigger cities are going to take to prevent things this year and be safe. So coming up shortly, guys, we have some feed coming in from Atlanta, where the mayor is being officially ceremonialized as mayor, and also another feed coming in from the UN, where Ambassador Nikki Haley is expected to speak at the top of the hour. So we're going to jump over there and kind of bring you both shots as they come live. Thank you for joining us here on our stream, guys. Hi guys, if you are just joining us on the Fox 5 Live digital stream, thanks for hanging out with us here today. You're looking at two different camera shots here. We'll take whichever one probably comes first, but Ambassador Nikki Haley is expected to speak at the top of the hour there at the United Nations, which is what you see in the left corner of your screen. On the right side, a look inside Morehouse College's chapel that's down in Atlanta, where Keisha Bottoms is going to be sworn in as Atlanta's mayor. Keisha Bottoms is actually the 6th consecutive black mayor in Atlanta ever since 1973. And that is slated for today. She was going to be inaugurated there at 1 o'clock Eastern time on this Tuesday, January 2nd. So that's happening. You can see the crowd is gathered. It's sort of a big event there inside the chapel at Morehouse College. So we'll take whichever one kind of starts up first with volume, of course. And if you are on the stream, thanks for joining us. And you can chat along with us as well in the live chat on the right side of your screen. Hope you enjoy these feeds. Looks like something is happening at the UN. So we'll probably jump over there and then switch it up in a few moments. Thanks for hanging out, guys.
What the Supreme Court has declared is that second-degree murder is implied malice or express malice, and implied malice is determined by the facts of each case. But essentially, what it requires is that the malice be, or that the act be done intentionally, has a natural and probable consequence that are dangerous to human life, is known by the defendant at the time he or she acted to be dangerous to human life, and is deliberately done with conscious disregard for human life. So there's for a vehicular manslaughter, it's required gross negligence, and specifically, I'm going to be really clear, what the prosecution needs to prove is that the person acted in a way that a reasonable person would know was dangerous. That's for a vehicular manslaughter. But for a Watson murder, the prosecution must prove that the individual was aware of the extreme danger that drinking and driving poses to others, and that the person made the choice to disregard that danger. So those are the two, essentially, the mental states that need to be proved for either one of those.
Next question. Yes, ma'am.
Leslie Brinkley with ABC 7 News. Perhaps the commander could give us some more information about the suspect, his condition right now, when and how he was charged, and again, maybe a bit more about his name, if there's a photo available, whatever you can tell us.
Mr. Ali was charged in absentia. He's still under the care of a medical facility within the Bay Area. We're anticipating a release anytime within today in the next 48 hours. I still like to respect his privacy. He's still under the care of a medical facility versus the Santa Rita jail, which is where his next trip will be to as soon as he is released from medical care. So in regards to a picture, when you book in absentia, that's not available just yet. But when we transfer him to Santa Rita, you'll see a picture from Ellen.
Hi guys, if you are just joining us here on Fox 5 Live on our digital stream here in the newsroom, you're looking at a live news conference from the Bay Area in San Francisco. This is all pertaining to a Christmas Eve crash. The driver in that crash is expected to be charged. The crash killed a police officer, Andrew Camilleri, and they're outlining sort of more of the circumstances and the charges in this incident from Christmas Eve. So take a listen.
That's correct. That's how his driver's license shows that. Muhammad Ali.
He's 22 years old. Was he working? Where did he live?
You know, I don't have all those details. I can tell you he lived in the city of Hayward, and he was driving a pretty nice Cadillac. So I hate to make assumptions, but I'm going to say he was employed, correct.
Jody Hernandez with NBC Bay Area. Could you tell us more about, I know he's been charged, and maybe Nancy can elaborate, with being under the influence of alcohol and drugs. What, was it marijuana? Can you give us an idea of what he was under the influence of?
The investigators on this case and Nancy O'Malley's staff has reviewed evidence and statements made, and he was under the influence of alcohol, and marijuana was in his system. Yes, ma'am.
With Fox 40, Sacramento. So obviously he was driving at 100 miles per hour. Do you know what he was doing, where he was going, any of that?
Well, I think I mentioned it the night of the collision, so I'll say it again. He was celebrating Christmas Eve, like many of us do. Unfortunately for him, he chose to drink and drive and smoke and drive. So he was definitely celebrating along with many other people the way they do on Christmas Eve.
Ladies and gentlemen, we'll have time for one more question.
Sir?
Chief, do you know anything about Mr. Ali? Is he known to law enforcement? Does he have a background with the CHP or local authorities? Or
He has never been arrested by the Highway Patrol before for drinking and driving, no. For the sake of our Spanish-speaking media that's here today, they've asked me to just give a quick soundbite, so claro, se la doy hoy. Bienvenidos, muchas gracias por apoyarnos los últimos 8 días. Ha sido una semana muy difícil para la comunidad de la Patrulla de Caminos. Queremos dar
Clap your hands. Happy day. Oh, happy day. Oh, happy day. So when I get to heaven, oh, happy day. Gonna sing and shout, yeah. Oh, happy day. I'm gonna sing. Oh, happy day. Oh, happy day.
Now, please welcome our Master and Mistress of Ceremonies, CBS 46 anchor reporter Karen Greer, and KISS 104.1 FM radio host Art Terrell.
Wow, how was that?
That was truly amazing.
Can you give them a better applause than that? They were fabulous.
Yes, yes. Yes.
Well, Happy New Year, everybody. Art and I are thrilled to be here with you to mark this historical day in this historic place, the Martin Luther King Jr. International Chapel.
Yes, indeed, Karen. Morehouse College has meant so much to the Atlanta community for decades, and it's fitting that we mark another important day for the city of Atlanta at this Atlanta treasure. As most of you know, Morehouse College is an alma mater of Martin Luther King Jr., thus the name of the building. But there have been some incredible moments that have taken place on these hallowed grounds.
There sure have. And can we take a pause and say how fabulous everybody looks?
Amazing.
Amazing.
Can you give yourselves a round of applause?
Wow. The Martin Luther King Jr. International Chapel has hosted dozens of luminaries over the years, including the former president of South Africa, the late Nelson Mandela, who within 1 hour received 37 honorary degrees on this very stage. Also on this stage, Mahatma Gandhi and his wife received the only honorary degrees they've ever received in the United States from Morehouse College. The memorial services for the late Maynard Jackson, Martin Luther King Jr., Sr., Daddy King, Benjamin Elijah Mays, and Evelyn Lowry were all held in this sacred place. And 2 American presidents
and every Atlanta mayor since Mayor Jackson have participated in programs right here.
Right here. So you see, the MLK Chapel is a national treasure and the right place for us to mark this special day. But it could not happen without Morehouse's new president, Dr. David Thomas. We want to take a moment to thank him and the entire Morehouse community for hosting the inauguration of the 60th mayor of the city of Atlanta and for welcoming all of us here this afternoon.
And we are here today to mark a new chapter for our wonderful city of Atlanta as we witness our new leaders take their oaths of office. They said this past year was definitely the year of the woman. Would you agree? Yes. And today is testament to that as we witness the beginning of a new journey for our next mayor, Keisha Lance Bottoms, and our next city council president. And our next city council president, Felicia Moore.
Yes. Now, I don't know, Karen, but there was a little hashtag going around on Twitter after all these phenomenal women took office. Does anybody know what it is? Black Girl Magic. We're so proud of these ladies and of our city. Karen, did you know Keisha is only the second woman to be elected to the city's highest office?
I do remember the first being.
Yes, Shirley Franklin. And here's another interesting little nugget about Keisha Lance Bottoms. She is also the first Atlanta Public School graduate to hold the post. Shout out to Douglas Hart. And that especially makes me proud, also being an Atlanta Public School graduate at Benjamin Elijah Mays, Douglas's rival.
Oh, Bible school. Oh my goodness, I didn't say that. You know, I gotta do a shout out for some of the people in the audience. Where are all of our Link sisters? Let's make some noise. Her chapter, the Dogwood chapter. Our Jack and Jill sisters, where are you? And of course, you couldn't say anything without the women of Dumpsing.
Oh my goodness. Devastating news.
And while we're talking about inspiring leaders, let's acknowledge some who are here with us today. We are happy and thrilled to recognize a person who was here taking pictures today, Congressman John Lewis, our beloved longtime representative. Congratulations.
Also with us today, our former Atlanta Mayor Sam Massell, former UN Ambassador and Atlanta Mayor Andrew Young, former Atlanta Mayor Bill Campbell, the 59th and outgoing Mayor, the Honorable Cassini Reed. And also joining us this afternoon, Mayor Ace Ward from Memphis, Tennessee. Give those gentlemen a big round of applause.
Audience this afternoon. We also want to recognize all of the state elected officials, members of the International Council of War, other elected officials who are here with us today. If you are here with us, please stand up. The president of Florida A&M University, Dr. Larry Robinson, is here with us today. Dr. Larry Robinson, where are you? As are the presidents of the Atlanta University System Consortium. And if there are any other college presidents with us in attendance, we'd love to welcome you to stand at this time as well. Please stand.
As we prepare for our newly elected officials to take the oath of office, I want to remind everyone of an important quote from President Harry Truman, who said, "In periods where there's no leadership, society stands still."
And we are happy that today we begin a new year, a new era of leadership for the city of Atlanta as it is forging ahead. Let us recognize those leaders who will be sworn in today, so please hold your applause until all of the names are called.
We begin with the judges of the municipal. I'm sorry, you get that right. That's very important.
You get nervous when you talk about the judges.
Yeah, I get very nervous. Now, we'll talk about that in a second. Let's begin with the judges of the Municipal Court of Atlanta. First, the Honorable Audra Bay. The Honorable Christopher Portis. The Honorable Jadara Butler. The Honorable Lee Dupree. The Honorable Terry Gundy. The Honorable Christopher Ward. The Honorable Herman Sloan. The Honorable Crystal Gaines. The Honorable Deputy Chief Gary Jackson.
Go dog!
And the Honorable Chief Judge Calvin Graves. As the judges make their way to the stage, I just want to remind everyone, since I'm such an angel, I've never had to go before these judges. But Karen, on the other hand, has had a few interactions with some Ladies and gentlemen, please give a big round of applause for the Municipal Court of Atlanta.
Now let us welcome members of the Atlanta City Council. Hold your applause once again if you can, please. District 12, the Honorable Joyce Shepard. District 11, the Honorable Marcy Collier Overstreet. District 10, the Honorable Andrea Boone. District 9, the Honorable Dustin Hillis. District 8, the Honorable J.P. Matsukite. District 7, the Honorable Howard Shook. District 6, the Honorable Jennifer Hyde. District 5, the Honorable Madeline Mosby Archibald. District 4, the Honorable Peter Winslow. District 3, the Honorable Ivory Lee Young, Jr. District 2, the Honorable Amir Faroki. District 1, the Honorable Carla Smith. Post 1 at large, the Honorable Michael Julian Bond. Post 2 at large, the Honorable Matt Westmoreland. And post 1 at large, the Honorable Andre Dickens. A lot of new faces on the Atlanta City Council this time around. But please join me as Councilman Andre Dickens makes the stage to give them all a big round of applause. Ladies and gentlemen, your Atlanta City Council.
And at this time, ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Atlanta City Council President, the Honorable Alicia Moore.
Now the 60th mayor of this great city of Atlanta, the Honorable Keisha Lance Bottoms.
Ladies and gentlemen, please remain standing for the presentation of colors, the singing of the national anthem by Aaron Gurley, and the Pledge of Allegiance.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at twilight's last gleam, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous sky o'er the
Hey guys, while we get through the national anthem here, just to remind you what you're watching, thanks for hanging out and coming on the stream today. So this is the video that we have coming in right now. This is the 60th annual, or rather the 60th time an Atlanta mayor has been sworn in, and Keisha Lance Bottoms is actually the 6th Black consecutive mayor to be sworn in Atlanta. So this is the official ceremony. We'll hear from her in just a minute, and hopefully we will get also a look at this. We were live. This is a live picture of the United Nations, where Ambassador Nikki Haley was expected to speak at the top of the 1 o'clock Eastern Time hour. Unfortunately, we haven't seen that yet. So hopefully, if we do, we'll bring that over live as well. And also a quick look at the frigid temperatures here in DC. This is the White House, and we're also expecting a White House press briefing today from Sarah Sanders from the White House press briefing room. We haven't seen that on camera for a little while now, as everything was sort of, there was a big lull last week in the vacation sort of interim week. So hopefully we'll be able to go over there as well and bring you that live. But for now, we'll jump it back to Atlanta, where we have this video coming in, and we'll hopefully hear from the 60th Atlanta mayor, Keisha Lance Bottoms, coming up. She's there in the orange right below my face here. So we'll go back here, and then we'll take it back into the newsroom for a little more live and breaking news to close out the hour. Thanks for hanging out with us, guys.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Ladies and gentlemen, you may now be seated.
Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Municipal Clerk of the City of Atlanta, Rhonda Dolphin-Johnson, who will join us to call these proceedings to order.
Good afternoon. Pursuant to Atlanta City Charter Section 2301, this first organizational meeting of the 2018 through 2021 term of office of the Atlanta City Council is hereby called to order. Further pursuant to Charter Section 2301, Atlanta's 60th Mayor, City Council President, City Council members, and municipal court judges will be sworn in at this meeting. President-elect and City Council members-elect, as I call your name, please signify your attendance by responding present. Felicia Moore, Michael Julian Bond, Matt Westmoreland, Andre Dickens, Carla Smith, Amir Farouki, Ivy Lee Young Jr., Cleta Winslow, Jennifer N. Hyde, Howard Shook, J.P. Mazzicott, Dustin Hillis, Andrea L. Boone, Marcy Collier Overstreet, and Joyce Shepard. And it is, and now, well, I'm so sorry. It is my honor and privilege at this time to state that a quorum is present, including Ms. Archibald. So let the swearing-in ceremony begin. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Madam Clerk. Now, please join me in welcoming the Reverend Eric Thomas of St. Peter Missionary Baptist Church to give us our invocation. Reverend Thomas will be followed by other faith leaders who are here to deliver prayers for this great city.
Let us prepare our hearts and minds for prayer as we bow our heads. Most holy and our wise God, our Father, we come this day again recognizing that it's not our day, but it's the day that you have made. And as a result of that fact, we rejoice in it. We thank you, Lord, again, that we know today that we're not here because of our plans or something we propose, but instead we know here because it's in your divine plan, that this is simply a manifestation of that divine plan carried out today. We thank you, Lord, for these that you brought together. We thank you for this mayor of Atlanta, this 60th mayor, Lord, who you have planted here in this place. We thank you, Lord, for the president of the city council, Lord, again, who you developed and planted here for this city this time. We thank you for every council member that you have allowed, Lord, to come through whatever journey that brought them to this place today. We thank you, Lord, for each of the judges, Lord. We pray right now, Lord, that you touch all those, Lord, who you brought here today in leadership, and that you give them hearts and minds, Lord, that are fixated and focused on you. We pray, God, that decisions we made will not be made out of head, but instead out of heart, Lord, a heart that you have prepared. We pray, God, right now that you would, in your way, in your own way of power, Lord, bring this city, Lord, to higher heights than it's ever been before. And then we pray, God, right now that you move all of us that are here to support those who are in leadership, that you move us from a place of the mundane to a place of the spiritual, that our hearts and minds will not be about self-esteem, but be about looking forward and being a benefit to others. We say thank you for all that you've done over the years. We thank you again, Lord, for what you're doing right now. But Lord, we stand here with a posture of praise, saying thank you for what you're about to do. Thank you, Lord, for those in this city, Lord, who have been left out, who are now about to be included. Thank you, Lord, for those in this city, Lord, who felt like nobody cared, who are about to know that somebody cares about them. Thank you, Lord, for those in this city, Lord, who felt like they had to go somewhere else to get satisfaction, recognize they can get satisfaction here in this city that you made, a place here on this hill. We say thank you, Lord, and we call it done. In Jesus' name, amen.
Good afternoon. Rabbi Peter Berg from the Temple. We turn to you, O God, in deepest gratitude and heartfelt prayer for our beloved city of Atlanta. On this exciting day of reaffirmation of our city's ideals of unity and personal avowal of sacred obligation by our mayor, Keisha Lance-Bottoms, by the city council, by our judges, and by all of Atlanta's leadership, in your name, O God. May you, God, whom alone belong the dominion and the power, be their stay and support in the fulfillment of their awesome trust, to ensure equal opportunities of learning and labor and well-being for all of the citizens of this, our great city, and shelter to those who seek refuge from tyranny, to safeguard the physical and moral integrity of beloved Atlanta. O God, the source of all life, quicken our mayor's heart always with awareness of your presence, and especially the lonely moments of faithful decisions which may be hers to make with our city council and all who care for our city. Guard and guide her in your loving kindness, that through our mayor's leadership, hunger may be stilled, hurts healed, hope sustained, the weak and the worn assisted, human dignity and decency upheld, and peace and freedom prevail among all of your children everywhere, with none to make them afraid. Today we celebrate those who have been elected to govern this city. To be here at this place at this time is a challenge for us all. To be on the avant-garde of humanity, for we are one city, one people, one destiny. How remarkable it is to be alive, to be sustained by each other, and to arrive at this precious moment in time. In profound humility, O God, we pray that your blessing may rest upon Mayor Lance-Bottoms, our city council, our judges, all who are blessed to serve this city, and along our journey. If we are weary, give us strength. If we are discouraged, give us hope. If we have been careless of time, forgive us. And if our hearts are chilled by indifference, warm them with your mercy, and inspire us with the glowing spirit of this inauguration day. Amen.
Good afternoon. I'm Bishop O.C. Allen. Let us pray for our city. God, we thank you for this historic moment. We thank you for the spiritual and civil rights foundations which our foremothers and forefathers gave us. Those principles have nurtured and nourished us as a city in our past. And now we seek to have an even greater future. The scriptures declare, the foundations be destroyed. What can the righteous do? And we confess that we are destroying the foundations of justice and equality and service. And so today, as we entrust our new mayor and city council to take the helm of leadership, this critical time, help us to become the city that Dr. King called the beloved community. We thank you for those who day and night maintain the public services, for the police, for those who respond to emergencies, and for those who work in health, healing, and social care. Teach us to remember that our lives depend upon the work of many and the commitment of those who have compassion. We pray for the city of Atlanta and all of its sectors, the people of Atlanta, in all of their expressions, and the leaders of Atlanta, in all of their influence. We pray for those who are working and without work, the homeless and the housed, the impoverished and the resourced, the fulfilled and the frustrated, the confused and the cluttered, those drawing on the walls and those reading the writing on the walls, those who are lonely or living in community. Most of all, we pray for the least of these. May we share in their suffering and their hope. We cannot merely ask you to end gun violence, we must lay our weapons down. We cannot merely ask you to end homelessness, we must use our resources to feed our city. We cannot merely ask you to end racism. We must dismantle our prejudice and check our privilege. We cannot merely ask you to root out oppression, but we must embrace our immigrant sisters and brothers, our LGBTQI sisters and brothers, our indigenous sisters and brothers, and our specially abled sisters and brothers. Guide those who work under the gold dome, the planners, the administrators, the decision makers. May they see the welfare of Atlanta's citizens as the city's highest good. Give our new mayor wisdom, integrity, and courage. And in the lonely moments, grant her your wisdom. Give her a cool head and a warm heart. And a continued compassion for those in physical, moral, and spiritual need. Bless her family, those who share the responsibility and the burden. And God bless the Atlanta Falcons. And the Hawks. And give us a path to victory. Oh God, we commit this inaugural ceremony to you in the name of the one.
So yeah, apologies guys. We were thinking that hopefully we would hear from the mayor a little bit sooner. It looks like hopefully she is coming up in a few moments. But I also want to flash you over to show you this quick video. There's a little bit of movement going on at the UN. We were supposed to be hearing from Ambassador Nikki Haley just a little bit ago. That didn't happen, but you can see this where the camera has moved and something seems to be happening. You can see the reporters there gathering around for this. Oh, there's Nikki Haley coming out now. So we'll check into the UN. There was a flag ceremony earlier today that we didn't quite catch live, but let's go back over there. Let's see her remarks as she comes up to the podium here.
Again, happy 2018. We know it's going to be a great year, but what we wanted to do was just talk about the fact that obviously 2017 was a very active year here at the UN, and we expect a lot of activity this year as well. We're starting off fast, and I want to touch on a few topics that are now front and center facing the world. In these first days of 2018, nowhere is the urgency of peace, security, and freedom being more tested than in Iran. By the thousands, Iranian citizens are taking to the streets to protest the oppression of their own government. It takes great bravery for the Iranian people to use the power of their voice against their government, especially when their government has a long history of murdering its own people who dare to speak the truth. So we applaud the tremendous courage of the Iranian people. The government of Iran is actively attempting to stop social media and other forms of communication that allow their citizens' voices to be heard. So we want to help amplify the voices of the Iranian people. Here are some of the messages that they're chanting today. All these brigades have come out to the streets. They've come out against the leader. Political prisoners must be freed. Independence, freedom, Iranian Republic. Neither Gaza nor Lebanon, my life only for Iran. Let go of Syria, think of us. We will die, but we'll take Iran back. Don't be afraid, we're all together. And in reference to the Supreme Leader, quote, feel some shame, let go of the country. Those are not my words. Those are not the words of the United States. Those are the words of the brave people of Iran. Now the Iranian dictatorship is trying to do what it always does, which is to say that the protests were designed by Iran's enemies. We all know that's complete nonsense. The demonstrations are completely spontaneous. They are virtually in every city in Iran. This is the precise picture of a long oppressed people rising up against their dictators. The international community has a role to play on this. The freedoms that are enshrined in the United Nations Charter are under attack in Iran. Dozens have already been killed. Hundreds have been arrested. If the Iranian dictatorship's history is any guide, we can expect more outrageous abuses in the days to come. The UN must speak out. In the days ahead, we will be calling for an emergency session, both here in New York and at the Human Rights Council in Geneva. We must not be silent. The people of Iran are crying out for freedom. All freedom-loving people must stand with their cause. The international community made the mistake of failing to do that in 2009. We must not make that mistake again. On a second matter, the crisis in North Korea will continue to have our attention in 2018. We finished December with our third strong sanctions resolution of last year. That was a great achievement, but there is more to do to ensure full implementation of the Security Council resolutions. As we hear reports that North Korea might be preparing for another missile test. I hope that does not happen, but if it does, we must bring even more measures to bear on the North Korean regime. The civilized world must remain united and vigilant against the rogue state's development of a nuclear arsenal. We will never accept a nuclear North Korea. There's one more item I want to mention. You have all heard that President Trump's comments made about Pakistan. The administration is withholding $255 million in assistance to Pakistan. There are clear reasons for this. Pakistan has played a double game for years. They work with us at times, and they also harbor the terrorists that attack our troops in Afghanistan. That game is not acceptable to this administration. We expect far more cooperation from Pakistan in the fight against terrorism. The president is willing to go to great lengths to stop all funding from Pakistan as they continue to harbor and support terrorism. And that brings me to my final point. The Pakistan aid issue is not connected to the vote we had with Jerusalem. It is entirely connected to Pakistan's harboring of terrorists. However, as I said in December, we won't forget the Jerusalem vote. To that end, tomorrow night we are having a reception for the countries who chose not to oppose the U.S. position. This is a great sign of U.S. friendship, and I look forward to tomorrow evening. We hope to see more of this in 2018. The United States is asked to do a huge amount around the world, and we're happy to do that, but we expect to be treated respectfully in return. I wish all of you a good 2018, and I'll take a couple questions.
Thank you, Ambassador. Which UN body in New York do you want to handle Iran, and to do what?
Well, I think right now we're going to have conversations with the Security Council and see what we need to do to have an emergency session. One way or the other, we will have a meeting on what is happening in Iran with the protests and their fight for freedom.
Okay.
Yes.
Thank you, Ambassador. Margaret Bashir with Voice of America. Ambassador, in light of the protests, is there any unilateral action the United States plans to take against Iran? And also, here at the Security Council, do you plan to hold Iran accountable on another front, perhaps through the Yemen Sanctions Committee for the missiles that they fired into Saudi Arabia? You had that presentation last month.
Right. There's no unilateral plans at this time that have come from the administration. What I can tell you is we are absolutely going to move forward on the missiles. You will see us look at Resolution 2231 carefully and see what needs to be changed so that we can put a stop to the Iranian testing of ballistic missiles. Yes.
Joseph Klein, Canada Free Press. Will the U.S. maintain its present level of funding of the UN Relief Works Agency for Palestinian Refugees in light of the General Assembly Jerusalem resolution pushed by the Palestinians and the Palestinian UN representatives' threat to unleash, quote, all the weapons we have in the UN, close quote?
I think the president has basically said that he doesn't want to give any additional funding or stop funding until the Palestinians are agreeing to come back to the negotiation table. And what we saw with the resolution was not helpful to the situation. We're trying to move for a peace process, but if that doesn't happen, the president's not going to continue to fund that situation. Yes.
Thank you, Madam Ambassador. My name is Abdul Hamid Sayam from the Arabic daily Al-Quds Al-Arabi. Now, you're so strong when it comes to the freedom and dignity of the Iranian people, but you have different meaning of freedom and dignity when it comes to the Palestinian people who've been brutalized for over 50 years of occupation. The second question related to it, what made you believe that you are on the right side of history when you stood alone in the Security Council against 14 members of the Security, and in the GA, 128 countries, you only found countries like Palau and Nauru next to you. What made you believe that you are on the right side of history? Thank you very much.
I stood proudly, even if I was the only hand in the Security Council, to fight for the will of the people of the United States. They wanted to see the embassy moved to Jerusalem, and we followed through with that. We very much still want to have a peace process. Nothing changes with that. The Palestinians now have to show their will that they want to come to the table. As of now, they're not coming to the table, but they ask for aid. We're not giving the aid. We're going to make sure that they come to the table, and we want to move forward with the peace process. One last question. Yes.
Thank you, Ambassador. Fuji TV. Can I ask you regarding North Korea? As you heard reports about South Korea proposing talks with North Korea, can you give us your reaction to that? And if about this talks, does it affect any of your policies putting pressure on North Korea?
We won't take any of the talks seriously if they don't do something to ban all nuclear weapons in North Korea. We consider this to be a very reckless regime. We don't think we need a Band-Aid, and we don't think we need to smile and take a picture. We think that we need to have them stop nuclear weapons, and they need to stop it now. So North Korea can talk with anyone they want, but the U.S. is not going to recognize it or acknowledge it until they agree to ban the nuclear weapons that they have. Thank you very much.
All right, guys, so Nikki Haley there, the ambassador to the UN, live from the UN, and you can see the camera pans. And there's your Picasso painting, Schultz. I see it now as the camera goes over to the hallway. He was just talking about the masterpiece that is that painting. So very cool. I learned something new on my own stream. Very awesome. All right, so as that finishes up, guys, I actually want to bring you to another really cute story out of, we're going to show this video in just a second, out of Wake County, North Carolina. Check it out. It's a little one and a half minute piece about a little small puppy who was rescued from the cold. As you know, it's been frigid temperatures all across the East Coast, really, throughout this holiday season and throughout the past weeks. And this 5-week-old little guy named Donut was found shivering on a loading dock. He was brought inside, and they saved him from freezing to death. So check out this cool little video.
There are many reasons that people can't keep their pets, and there are also many ways that people can responsibly find a new home for them. Leaving a puppy abandoned in freezing temperatures is not the right way. If it's too cold for you, it's going to be too cold for your pets, and that's a pretty good general rule. Same thing if it's too hot for you, it's going to be too hot for your pets. It can certainly provide some good insulation, and we always suggest using hay or straw over blankets, because once it snows or if there's a dampness, those blankets will then hold that moisture and freeze. Unfortunately, it does happen during the winter months, during any sort of extreme conditions. Some people leave their pets outside.
So cute story. It looks like that was actually taken as a VO with a little bit of sound in it, so we didn't get quite the full report. But again, that was in Wake County, North Carolina. Donut, little dog right there. And that's close to my heart because I actually went to school in Wake County, North Carolina. So I know the area pretty well. But let's go back over, guys, because I think we're going to hear from the new mayor of Atlanta down there. We were just watching that ceremony. And it looks like she's coming up to be sworn in officially in just a moment. So we're going to go back down there.
That I will administer justice. That I will administer justice. Without respect to person. Without respect to person. And to do equal rights to the poor. And to do equal rights to the poor. And the rich. And the rich. And that I will faithfully. And that I will faithfully. And impartially. And impartially. Discharge and perform. Discharge and perform. All of the duties. All of the duties. Incumbent on me. Incumbent on me. As judge of the municipal court of Atlanta. As judge of the municipal court of Atlanta. According to the best of my ability. According to the best of my ability. And understanding. And understanding. And agreeably to the laws. And agreeably to the laws. And constitutions. And constitutions. Of the United States. Of the United States. And the state of Georgia. And the state of Georgia. And the charter. And the charter. And the ordinances. And the ordinances of the city of Atlanta. Of the city of Atlanta. And that I will support. And that I will support. And defend. And defend. The Constitution of the United States. The Constitution of the United States. And of this state. And of this state. I further swear. I further swear. That I am not the holder. That I am not the holder. Of any unaccounted. Of any unaccounted. For public money. Due to this city. Or state. And that I am not the holder. And that I am not the holder. Of any office of trust. Of any office of trust. Under the government of the United States. Under the government of the United States. Of the state of Georgia. Of the state of Georgia. Of any other state. Of any other state. Or any foreign state. Or any foreign state. Which I am prohibited from holding. Which I am prohibited from holding. By the laws of the state of Georgia. By the laws of the state of Georgia. And the charter. And the charter. And the ordinances. And the ordinances. Of the city of Atlanta. Of the city of Atlanta. I further swear. I further swear. That I have been a resident of this city. That I have been a resident of this city. For the time required. For the time required. By the charter of the city of Atlanta. By the charter of the city of Atlanta. And that I am otherwise qualified. And that I am otherwise qualified. To hold said office. To hold said office. According to the Constitution. According to the Constitution. And laws of Georgia. Laws of Georgia. And the charter. And the charter. And the ordinances. And the ordinances. Of the city of Atlanta. Of the city of Atlanta. So help me God. So help me God. Continue to remember as you serve that the citizens of Atlanta are depending on you to uphold the tradition of judicial excellence by discharging your responsibilities faithfully, with justice, but always tempered with mercy. Join me in saluting these judges with a round of applause.
Love you, old man.
Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Atlanta Municipal Court Chief, Judge Calvin Graves.
Thank you. God is with all the time. I mean, this bond is like my own organ. At the same thing with President Moore. I've worked with him, I've seen him grow and grow. And this is just a special moment. It's a special moment. We are surrounded with a lot of folks that have graduated from schools like Morehouse, which I'm fortunate enough to graduate from. Reverend Morehouse. Gave one of our Morehouse sermons this morning in our bench. We have Morehouse men on our bench, and we just blessed that way. So, but historically black colleges, our mayor graduated from Florida A&M. Last is Delta, and she and President Moore, they have been keeping me straight for a long time. And that's, my wife will tell you, that's a full-time job. Good morning, Atlanta. I am Chief Judge Graves, and I am privileged to be here with you today. It is my honor to recognize the distinguished members of the Municipal Court, the City Council President, Alicia Moore, the City Council members, our outgoing Mayor, Christine Reed, and our new distinguished 60th Mayor, Keisha Lance Boggs. We are on the precipice of great change in our wonderful city, and we will all share in a pivotal role in making of this next great chapter of Atlanta's growth and prosperity. I'm looking forward to working collaboratively with Mayor Bottoms, her administration, and the City Council. Over the past few years, the municipal court has seen great advancements in public service, technology, safety, and innovation. It's no small feat that we have been able to accomplish this with the assistance of our past mayor and past council, strong supporters of a strong board, none of which could have been done without their support. We now have a staff and resources restored, allowing for the advancements that sets the court apart in the state, in the entire country. And for this, we are truly thankful to the leadership of the City of Atlanta and to the citizens of Atlanta who have supported a strong court in this city. We are ever mindful of you, we are ever there for you, and we are part of the City of Atlanta family. I want to give you a few examples of what the leadership has provided as we go forward very quickly. We are now implementing a sign-on bond. What does that mean? That means a whole lot to something that Mayor Bottoms has taken leadership in and President Moore. That means that people for petty crimes won't be in jail, won't be holding up again. We've got some serious crimes, but people who can't help themselves, struggling, we're going to give them, we're going to be the real city of second chances, Mayor himself, Andrew Camilleri, Mayor Bill Campbell, Mayor Reed, and all the other great mayors. We hear you. We have launched a new citation, which will be the state of the art of the nation, that will bring in all of the other agencies, not only AU Center, but the Atlanta Tech, the Georgia Tech, Georgia State, our new part of our family, Emory, and we're meeting with them. Our solicitor, Mr. Carter, has met with them, and we are telling them that we are ready to provide the services as they join our City of Atlanta family. We've started an alternate justice program, reconfigured as a Restored Atlanta, which was designed to address Mayor Reed's charge to us to be the city of second chances. And we expect under the leadership of Mayor Keisha Lance Boggs to be able to implement this program and to make new steps and strides in restorative justice for the people and the citizens of Atlanta. This is going to be a city of second chances. We've all had second chances, and we're going to emphasize that in our program. And by the way, this is a national trend. But as usual, Atlanta will take the lead and strive, and under Mayor Keisha Lance Boggs, we will lead, ma'am, under your leadership. And now, Mayor Bottoms will be the one that leads us into some of this building that we're in is over 10 years old, so we're doing renovations. The pedestrian bridge, which will make our customers able to safely traverse the city of Atlanta streets to come to the court, is going to be built in her leadership. A new case management integration system, which is like, what does that mean? That means that we know this is going to make you happy. You'll be able to buy your tickets, you'll be able to get in and out of traffic court quicker, and keep up with your stuff, what's important to you. Because we know you need to work, we know you're citizens that need attention, and we are working on that, and we're going to be the first in that area too. And we know you're citizens that need attention, and we are working on that, and we're going to be the first in that area too. And we've partnered, and we are working on that, and we're going to be the first in that area too. And we've partnered, we know you're citizens that need attention.
All right, guys, so we ended up losing this shot, so we're actually going to pull out of that ceremony. And who knew it was going to be such sort of a drawn-out, really ceremonious kind of event there. We didn't even get to hear from the mayor herself, but the 60th mayor to be inducted in this official ceremony in Atlanta. So thanks for joining us for some of that. We're going to go over now to some footage quickly just of, we're getting a little bit of ground footage from the Bay Area, guys, Marin County, and of course near San Francisco, where there are reports of an incident at a local mall in that area. I'm just reading up on this now, so this is sort of new information, but this is a live look here, a ground shot of officials and police activity in this area. Guns are obviously drawn from officers, and they're on scene outside of a Nordstrom in this mall. Apparently, our sister station out there, KTVU, spoke with an employee who says that her manager called her just before 10 o'clock a.m. this morning, advising her not to come to work because there was a gunman at the mall. So that's what we know there. This is reported about 45 minutes ago. So this is a reporter interruptible raw feed of the ground there. And I'm not quite sure what type of information we'll get from anybody there, but a live look there at this incident.
Yeah, I mean, the place is shut down and it's evacuated, and it's like, the guy could be in there. How do we know? Good? You good? Good. Hey, what was your name again? I've seen you before. I'm Bob. Bob, good. Nice to see you.
Bob Tom.
Tom Baker.
Yeah.
Nice to meet you. Thank you, Tom Baker.
I've been around for 40 years.
Yeah, me too.
Me too. Really?
Start my 40th year.
This year be, 30 now. Yeah, well, we're close.
Anyway, Bob, let's keep it cool so we don't get kicked out.
You bet. Yeah, I'm surprised they didn't say nothing.
In the line of shots, with the rifle full, 9 out of 10 times they say you're too close. This was an attempted robbery that brought you here?
Well, I heard something about they're looking for 2 black guys with hoods. They've got a handgun.
How do we know that?
Well, they said
were there actually shots fired here?
I don't know. They pistol whipped somebody, so there was laceration and contusion. They transported
the
that
ambulance
victim
is gone.
to the hospital.
Yeah.
That I do know.
Yeah.
Do you know if shots were fired?
He doesn't know.
That I don't know.
But they found a pistol, you said? What were you saying about the pistol?
They wind up pistol whipping.
Oh, pistol whipping, yeah. Thank you, Bob.
Over there. Are they the UPS guys?
Yeah,
They are.
all brown, yeah. That's why I said UPS loading dock, something happened over there. Because that's where the crime scene is.
Yeah. And they must have run inside the store then.
Something happened out here, and then they might have run inside. What do they say? This is just making assumptions out of you and me, because you know what happens? When you make an assumption?
It's a mess between you and me.
Exactly. And I don't want to be doing that.
We're looking for some type of white van.
Yeah. Okay.
I mean, they thought it was something went down towards Trader Joe's, but they're not sure where the hell.
I gotta watch what I say. This thing is hot. I forgot.
Again, guys, not a ton of details on this incident at a Marin County shopping mall, but apparently this incident did happen at a Nordstrom. And I don't know if we'll get too much more information from this feed, but I want to show you quickly in the right corner of your screen just a few pictures that were taken from the scene. You can see officers here with guns drawn. This is, again, from coverage from our sister station out there in Oakland. But you can see there's the officials, lots of big guns drawn dealing with this. So seems to be a pretty serious incident. We don't know the details of this, unfortunately, or really who is involved, but just that there were numerous officers on the scene. As we scroll through the pictures, you can see what it sort of looked like about 45 minutes ago to an hour. And then below me right there on the left side of your screen, that's just live raw video from the ground at that scene. And that's all we got. So there it is, guys, just some live pictures of what is going on over there. But with that, guys, I think we're going to come back in and just briefly chat a little more because unfortunately the White House press briefing has been pushed back officially to about 2:30 Eastern time. So if you're interested in watching that, we will most likely stream that on our Facebook page as well. But I want to leave you with a cool video, something a little more interesting and exciting in New Year's fashion to close out sort of the second day of 2018. Guys, check out this tradition that is really only for the brave or the crazy, you guys. This is in Italy. Check it out. These are divers kicking off 2018, jumping off Rome's Cavour Bridge, which is about 50 feet above the Tiber River. When you think of the Tiber River, I know you flash back to ancient history and Latin and Roman times when we studied that in school. But these divers brave the rain and the chilly temperatures of about 50 degrees, which sounds like almost nothing compared to what we're dealing with over here in DC and New England and all up and down the East Coast. But we'll leave you with this video to enjoy, guys, this annual tradition in Rome.
you.